Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Brokers Open podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here as usual with the big guy himself, Matt Vi. What's up, Matt?
Not a whole lot. Living the dream, Ben. You know I was going to say that. I was going to throw that out there. Living the dream.
Yeah, Ron, every time I ask him, he says, living the dream. But you guys may wonder who in the world is Ron? Well, I'm going to introduce him right now. We are interviewing today Ron Williams, who's a broker owner of Exit Realty Hilton Head and Exit Realty HGM in Madison and Jamesville, Wisconsin. How's it? I feel like you're more in Hilton Head by your background right now than Wisconsin.
I am in Hilton Head. It's Heritage Week here, so the Heritage PGA tournament's here this week.
Mhm.
So all the guys just coming off the Masters are coming in here, and so it's a pretty fun week. So it's a good week to be here. And of course, if I look at the weather in Janesville compared to the weather in Hilton Head, this is a good place to be right now for sure.
Yeah, 100%. They're going from a green jacket to a tartan jacket. Is that right? I think
That
that's
is correct. Yep.
yep, I think that's what they went at the Heritage. Yeah, that
Yep.
absolutely. We love that tournament. So perfect. We're not here to talk golf. We're here to talk real estate. So uh, I was
Probably
gonna
easier to talk golf right now.
yeah, I was gonna hijack the conversation there really quick, but I'm not going to. So tell us a little bit about your brokerage and how you became a broker in the first place.
Yes. So I've been a broker since 1990. Well, I'm sorry, I've been an agent since 90, a broker since 91. Um, and I got licensed in Wisconsin, and did an open house and said, I'm never going to be in this business or do this business ever again. Um, and the broker I worked for at that time grabbed me and said, hey, you're a commercial guy. Let's go down this road. So
Mhm.
I got involved at that point in commercial and investment real estate in Janesville, Wisconsin, Lake Geneva area as well, South Central Wisconsin in general, and just started doing commercial deals and was with a large brokerage at the time, and then kind of went on my own and did commercial stuff for quite a while. Then about 10 years ago, partnered up with a couple of guys on in a boutique brokerage. We were all investing together in and doing some rehabs. And one of the guys had a great rehab company and had some agents and needed some brokerage help. So we kind of put that all together. And yeah, here we are. About 65 agents later, we got the office in Janesville and Madison, which we have 5 offices in Wisconsin, and then I've got the office in Hilton Head. So
Nice. So so I got a couple of questions from what you just said. Right? What the hell happened at that open house that you were just that had to be like the worst open house ever?
oh, it was fine. The people were talking about. I mean, again, it was 1990, so the people were talking about the mauves and the pinks, and I could care less. I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take those things out. I know this house. Average sale price 53,000. So
Yeah.
know what we're talking about, right? So I'm
Right.
like, hey, for a couple $1,000, I can paint and remove this carpet, and now this at that time $75,000 house probably be worth pretty close to 100. We can do pretty well with that. So that's what
Right.
I'm looking at, as
Right.
opposed to. And so when people are talking about the malls and whatever else, I'm like, who cares?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I'm in the wrong industry right away. But
Yeah. Well, so that's really cool. So that actually brings us to, kind of what we wanted to make sure that we talked about today, right? So that's about vision, right? You were seeing something deeper than just what was right in front of you. So, right now you're in Hilton Head, and of course you have the offices, in Wisconsin, like we talked about. Part of what you wanted to do, if I'm not mistaken, is you wanted to be able to kind of go back and forth and do real estate in both of those areas. That was a few years ago. That's what you decided to do, right? Tell us a little bit about that decision to be able to work in both states.
yeah, so I mean, and this was 2019, so pre-COVID. Um, my wife and I had made the decision a long time ago that we wanted to go somewhere warm.
Mhm.
We ended up doing it a little earlier than anticipated, but so I purchased the Exit franchise. The franchisee here was
Mhm.
moving to Minneapolis actually, so we were just crossing paths. But
Right.
with that, and I went to my partners. I had 4 other partners in the Wisconsin offices at the time, and told them kind of the plan, and they're like, and my intention actually at that point was to get out of
Mhm.
Wisconsin. and they said, "Hey, let's stay, and we can make this work." 6 years later, they're more than right. We can make it work. We realized a few months later, as COVID hit,
Right.
how remote we really could be.
Yep.
So, real estate's real estate. Look, my belief is real estate's a relationship business. Bottom line, you can pay for all the leads you want and do all those things, but my philosophy, our company's philosophy, it's all about the relationships. And if you're going to go to a place, and whether it's your permanent home or a part-time home or whatever that is, you've got to build the relationships. So that means you got to be a part of the community. You've got to get into it. I joined FCA. I was on the board there. I helped out the local school. Find your things that you want to be involved in, be a part of it, be in the community, and the business will come because you're an expert in the industry. If you know your stuff and you're you understand the industry, that just, people always want to talk about real estate. So it's just taking that and building that up. So, and that's what we teach. I only have one partner in Wisconsin now. We bought out the others, and without him, I definitely could not have two companies. I mean, he definitely is boots on the ground and a lot of day-to-days, but I'm still our broker and taking phone calls and all those fun things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So, you do business in both places, right? So, you yourself do business in both places. So, I hear what you're saying about the relationship. We completely couldn't agree with that more, right? It's all about the relationship. So I love that. But do you do flipping in both places? Cause I know you've done some flipping and everything. Do you do flipping and rehab in both Hilton Head and, in Wisconsin? Tell us a little bit about that. And I'd love to hear the differences. Right, because we know what the similarities would be, but I bet there's some differences between the two of those. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, price point is the first difference, and then it's what are you doing? There's in flips you can take the cheap route and just do it as quickly as possible and with the most cost effective materials as possible. And maybe cut some corners and do things just so you get that product out and get your bottom line. Both locations, when we do flips, we don't do that. We make sure we're doing it the right way. In Hilton Head, again, it's price point. So it's the things there that are important to people are going to be a little bit different than in Wisconsin. Access to the beach is one thing I think of, but probably not just that. It's okay. Maybe we can get away with LVP in Wisconsin more, whereas in Hilton Head, the LVP isn't going to fly as much. I mean, you're going to have to go to the really higher end LVP, but they're more hardwoods and beachy feels, some tiles and that kind of thing. So it's more in your finishes probably where your differences come into play. The other part for me that's different is in Wisconsin, we have our own guys and crews, and here it's partnering with people. So, and it's just a higher cost in Hilton Head. We call it the bridge toll. The second you cross that bridge onto the island, costs go up. So the things that you anticipate what they'll cost, they just are up, and there's not much way to get around that.
Yeah. Yeah. And not that Bluffton is inexpensive, right? Bluffton's expensive too, but yeah, certainly whenever you get going across the bridge there, it does make a huge difference. Right. So tell me about, if I was an agent and I was deciding to, I was going to be in Florida, but I also wanted to be in another state. So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you learned that you were like, man, I wish I would have known this whenever I was moving from one state to the other. I wish I would have really looked at this a little bit more carefully, or I wish I would have dug into this a little bit more. What are some of the things that that you could tell an agent that's thinking about being licensed in two states? What are some of the things that they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so I'll start at that state level first, and then break it down, to the local level. On a state basis, it's find out, are we an attorney state, are we a title state, how are transactions done, do they get held in escrow, like knowing that, and the differences, like differently Wisconsin and South Carolina are big, even though you may have reciprocity with those states, So actually, that's probably the first step is where do I have reciprocity?
Yeah.
So because as an example, Wisconsin doesn't have reciprocity with Florida, but Illinois does. And Wisconsin and Illinois have reciprocity. So I can go get licensed in Illinois, then go get, so it may be
Right.
simpler to do those things. So that's the first step, right? Is
Yep.
to figure out where you have reciprocity. Then it's what are the nuances of doing transactions there, title state, attorney state, escrow, those things. Learn that. Then it starts getting into local. Hilton Head, I think, is a unique market in that, really this island didn't develop until mid to late 80s. Well, the people who were agents here in the mid to late 80s are still agents here now. And they've done a great job from a relationship standpoint and doing things. So, and their kids are getting into it. But that was unique to me here versus Wisconsin. And I think and this MLS is a private MLS, not owned by the agent. So learning the nuances of what does that mean? How is that different?
Yep.
And that can take us all into what's happening in real estate in general. But knowing those things, how does your MLS work? Is it statewide? Is it not? Are we, how do those things work? And then what are the nuances of the places that you're in? How are realtors viewed in the community? All of these things, I think, are really important to know before you make that decision and determination of where you're going to go. So sit down and talk to the brokers in those local markets, talk to some agents, get to know. One thing I found about real estate agents, no matter where I go, they're willing to talk about their market. They're willing to talk about what's happening, and what the difficulties are. And I just say lean into that big time.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, thinking about that, right? Like, let's say, okay, so you're in Hilton Head, right? And you also do business there. I know that you have your business partner in Wisconsin. Let's say again, just using the example we just used, 'cause we live in Florida. So I'm in Florida, and I want to do some real estate in Wisconsin. Well, and let's say I don't know anybody, right? How do I even do that, right? I understand, like, okay, understanding those nuances, right? And I think that's 100%, the place where we have to start. But what would I even look to be doing? Am I only working with investors at that point? Is it one of those things where, gosh, you should kind of stick with these types of deals and properties? But let's say I ran some buyer ads. Am I only sending my referrals for buyers or something like that from a residential standpoint? To is my business just, hey, I'm just sending a referral over here? What does that look like? And is there a conglomerate or a mix of all those that seem to happen?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first question to anybody who wants to, diversify into more states is why? What's your why behind it? Is it I want to go and live and be a part of that community? Or is it I live in Florida and a bunch of people are looking for summer homes in Wisconsin? So then to me, it's like, hey, why waste your money in being in our MLS and on a part of our associations and all those things? You can refer whoever you want right up to us, and we'll pay you a more aggressive referral fee if you do more than just give us a name. But if you want to live in the community and earn in the community, that's different, right? Than just because we'll say there are some agents who are getting licensed all over the country, right? And just trying to pop deals. Well, I think that hurts our industry because I don't think that person is becoming an expert in that marketplace. And so while they're maybe taking their relationships that they have, they're not using their real estate expertise in the marketplace. And I think that's not doing the best by their customer. So, back to it, if you want to go about doing that, I always ask why and what's behind it. And if it's simply just because you've got a bunch of people you can refer, then I'm going to say, don't get licensed.
Yeah, just refer
them out to us.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So your agents that are currently in both of your offices, right? So Wisconsin and South Carolina, are you encouraging them to get licensed in other states? Are you encouraging them to get licensed in Wisconsin? I heard what you just said. Okay, where's your heart at? Right? Don't just get a license to have a license somewhere else, right? I get that, but are you encouraging them and saying, hey, listen, if you're thinking about retiring somewhere else, or if you're thinking about moving somewhere else, or if you want to be closer to your grandkids, or if you want to whatever, have you ever thought about getting your license? Is that part of your conversation that you have with your current agents? And
Yeah,
or
absolutely. And you know, I'll use a couple of agents we have in Wisconsin who have lake homes way up
Mhm,
north, not our MLS, right?
mhm,
So not our association. And I've had a few come to me and say, hey, I want to sell up north.
mhm,
And so that's the exact conversation. Okay, why? Um, because you're licensed in the state now, so it's a little bit different, right?
mhm. Right.
But you're joining that MLS. Is there a reason, or can you find an agent you can refer people up to? And so I've had both situations. I've had one who said, hey, I'm just going to refer. And I've had a couple who, they spend more time and they're in the communities and they're doing it. I think the hard thing right now is, like I said, when I started, average sale price was $53,000. So the commission dollars you had to work to earn.
Mhm.
Today, you can go sell $1 million, $2 million house,
Right.
and so we get stuck in that. And again, I think that's just you miss. They're stuck on that instead of what can they really do. So
Yeah. So, okay, so real estate's changing. It's always changing. We know it's always changing, right? But there's some pretty substantial changes that have been happening and that are happening now, right? How are you preparing your agents for that? What are you telling them? What are you saying? Hey, this is what needs to happen going forward. If you want to stay relevant, I can tell by your conversation already, a big part of it with you is local market expertise. So be a real estate professional, both on what you know, macro and micro with what you're doing in your business. But what else are you telling them from a big picture standpoint? Hey, this is what we need to be paying attention to, and this is how we're going to make sure that we stay relevant, whether it's in Wisconsin or whether it's in South Carolina. How are you coaching them to stay relevant in what's going on in real estate going forward?
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's those relationships.
Hmm.
They have to pour into their relationships. They have to have people see them as real estate experts. The
Hmm.
financial advisors have gone through it. And
Hmm.
we've seen it with them. But there's still a lot of financial advisors that are doing just fine and haven't lost to TD Ameritrade or whoever. I so firmly believe that this industry is a relationship based industry. And the further that agents get away from that, I think that's what's going to hurt us. And I see the big brokerages and what they're doing, and they still have some people that are doing local really well. But that's my fear of the industry, is that we're going to lose that relationship piece, because I think that's so important. So being a local expert and being relational, and so I really think it's, let's say it, Zillow doesn't know what the two houses next door that may have the exact same square footage, what the
Right.
difference is, and the
Right.
expert does. So I will say that till the day I die.
Yep. I love that. And I love everything that we've talked about has had that underlying theme of relationship from the beginning of the podcast all the way here till the end of the podcast. And we want to make sure that everybody who's listening, if they want to start a relationship, a business relationship with you, that they can. Um, why don't you let everybody know what's the best way to get in touch with you or learn more about you and your brokerage?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Ron Williams. It's Exit Realty Hilton Head. You and Exit Realty HGM. You can email me at ron@exitrealtyhhi.com. And my phone number is 608-359-7762. Or if you want to text my vanity code, it's LIVEHHI. And you text that to 5377. So
I love it. Well, I'll take all those things as always, guys, and I'll put it in the links in the description below so you can reach out to Ron and just meet a really cool guy. Ron, it's been amazing having you on the show. Super glad we're going to have you for a follow up episode later on down the road, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Well, been great talking with you guys.
Yeah, same here. As always, guys, don't forget that Brokers Open Podcast, powered by Prime Real Estate Coaching. It is not just about opening the door to more opportunities. It's about closing more transactions.